5 red lights, green flag in the back for the first sprint of the year. It's lights out, and away we go, go, go. Max Verstappen has got away particularly well, but I think Sainz has got away better. Sainz has got slightly ahead. Who's going to be leading into the temporary chicane? We had contact between Verstappen and Hamilton here last year, and in they go, and there's no contact. Sainz has gone ahead. Sainz has gone ahead of Verstappen. And there's Aiden Jackson looking down the inside of Esteban Ocon for P13, and he got it. And Jackson's passed the Alfa Romeo. We didn't see it. It's a better weekend for Hulkenberg because Jackson's had the beating with in so far in the first 3 races. And there he was passing Ricciardo. And Hamilton there down the inside. And a great move for Hamilton. Was there contact there? Oh my word. Hamilton getting his elbows out, and he's passed him. And that's a great move by Lewis Hamilton. Will he keep it into the second chicane? I think it's the Villeneuve chicane as we go up to closers. That should give it the inside line. And Hamilton has took it. And there is the rain. The rain has arrived. George Russell out of this sprint. And that means he's going to start at the back. Jackson is turning into the pits. Aiden Jackson is pitting. And I can only assume this is for the intermediate tyres. Here comes Max Verstappen to win the sprint. He's been held by everyone else in the top 10 aside from his teammate pitching for the intermediate tyres. He wins. Aiden Jackson now into 9th. He's passed Magnussen. Has he got enough corners to pass Zhou Guanyu, who could get points for Alfa Romeo? Their 4th points of the year. It's going to be a drag race of the island. Zhou has gone squirrely out of that corner, and Jackson took 8. And Hamilton has no front wing. Hamilton has no front wing on the slowdown lap. What happened there? So following the first sprint of the year, it's time for the main event, the Emillia Romangna Grand Prix, round 4 of the 2022 Formula 1 season. Good afternoon everyone, and of course the 7 Chaos of YouTube and Twitch TV, joined back in the studio by Aaron Henwood, who will bring in just a moment for hopefully a longer debrief than we had yesterday. So up until that sprint race yesterday, the weekend had been dominated by the Ferraris, with Verstappen their only opponent, who took pole for the sprint grid and will also start for the race today, as of course the grid is made up of the sprint results, and that means George Russell will start last after being the first and only retirement. On the other side of the Mercedes garage, there was jubilation as Lewis Hamilton finished 2nd, meaning he secured his first front row start since the infamous 2021 Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. And we all know what happened here last year with those two going into Tamburello, so I think it's fair to say, Aaron, that we certainly know where to look at lights out. Well, that goes without saying, Chaos, and I can assure you that all the neutrals are sitting in front of their screens, rubbing their hands together with anticipation, because here we go again. And that could certainly be the case, as Mercedes have had their strongest weekend of the season so far, and that also does vote well for George Russell, if he can cut his way for the field today. Although, I do hate to burst the excitement bubble a little bit here, but if Max should get a semi-decent start, I think it is expected for him to run and hide, as it were, as the sprint proves that Red Bull is still very clear of the Mercedes in terms of the overall package, as even on a damp track on dry tyres, Max was still about half a second quicker than everyone else. But let's bear in mind that everyone in the top 6 was trying to get to the end of the race on the dry tyres as the track was getting wetter. Continuing the discussion on Red Bull, this weekend signals the start of the European season, discounting the Miami Grand Prix next time out of course, and so not only will we see upgrades put on the cars, but also young drivers will be able to now have free practice 1 runs. And Liam Lawson, the Red Bull Junior, got that very privilege, filling in for Sergio Perez, completing 36 laps and finishing the day at 5th on the hard tyres. He was of course second behind Verstappen, but even still that's a very impressive first sighter for someone who could take over from Sergio Perez in a few years' time, as of course Verstappen is currently contracted at Red Bull until 2028. Sergio Perez still has a couple of years left on his contract, of course. Elsewhere, Ferrari's loss of pace since Saudi Arabia is puzzling, but not really a big concern, as they still hold, I would say, about 4 to 5 tenths over the rest. Having said that though, the alarm bells could start ringing at Alfa Romeo soon, as they are still without a point in 2022, and it's not much better for Haas either, with just the 1 point from Kevin Magnussen in Saudi. Audi have also looked out of sorts this weekend, with Jackson knocked out in Q2 in qualifying, but his smart move to the intermediate tyres during the sprint grabbed him a point at the very last corner, passing Zhou Guanyu. Hulkenberg also starts 12th, so it is a good opportunity for the team to be back amongst the points for both drivers. We have a completely different grid to the sprint race, so we've got all the ingredients for a cracking race today. That we most certainly have, Aaron, and what was once known as the San Marino Grand Prix is no stranger to classic races. I assume you fondly remember a certain one in 2006 when the win was taken by the great Michael Schumacher. And that was the last time we raced here for 14 years until it was reintroduced to the calendar for 2020 after being drafted in during the pandemic. And the last chicane was taken out to form the track we're racing today. So let's take a tour around on board the Ferrari of Charles Leclerc. Well, you could literally hear the crowd roaring Charles on as we start this lap of the Emillia Romangna circuit for the Grand Prix weekend. Virtually unchanged apart from the removal of the final chicane. Here's the first one, the Tamburello corner, and taking it wonderfully. And we also have the reprofiled curves for 2022, which should help with breaches of track limits. Now into the second chicane, I think it's called the Villeneuve one, and then into the hard left there of Tosa. I think a lot more uphill than it has been in previous years. Of course, before 2020, we weren't here for 14 years. And here we go into the left-hander there, and it's going to be just much faster in these cars now. Used to brake so much harder with that corner, and this is almost flat out from Charles all the way through. Before, we would have to brake there. It's the world of difference that these 2022 cars have made to racing. And even the 2017 cars, for that matter, they still have that kind of DNA from there as well. But of course, the technical regulations are more for the front and rear wings as we come to the end of the lap. And Charles was fastest in sector 2 at this point, and again, almost flat, but a little bit hard braking the last corner. No final chicane as he blasts over the start-finish line to finish a lap at the Emillia Romangna Grand Prix circuit. It's the start of the European season, although the teams would call it the upgrade season. Now it's time to find that vital upgrade that could find you a tenth of a second that can make all the difference come the end of the season, even under the restrictions of a budget cap. It's all about catching that outfit. The Emillia Romangna Grand Prix circuit is just down the road from the legendary founders facility Enzo and Dino, whose legacy in Formula 1 and the world of motors as a whole is almost unparalleled. Will the Tifosi be cheering one of their beloved cars over the line in first place? There's only one way to find out. Commentary from round 4 of the 2022 Formula 1 season, the Emillia Romangna Grand Prix, from Aaron Henwood. Thank you, Chaos. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Imola. It's a sea of red which rivals the Max Legion at Zandvoort, but it's just a frenzied atmosphere, but a different colour. It's red here today. The Imola circuit is 3.0 miles with 90 corners and 1 DRS zone coming out of the exit of turn 17. We are down 2 corners from the 2006 layout, in which was won by the legendary Michael Schumacher in that Ferrari, but with triumph comes tragedy. The 1994 San Marino Grand Prix was known as the darkest weekend in the sport's history, with the passings of Roland Ratzenberger and Ed Senna, who will never be forgotten. The great and brilliant mind of Professor Sid Watkins then strived to make cars safer, and even with the aggressiveness of these brand new cars, he has overwhelmingly succeeded and continues to even today. We have got the prospect of a great Grand Prix. We've got George Russell at the back, hoping to cut through the field, but of course, all the eyes are on the front. It's Max Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton on the front row for the first time since, you guessed it, the 2021 Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. Will there be contact? Let's start from the back of the grid. George Russell took a penalty following his retirement from the sprint race. He was starting in the back anyway behind Yuki Tsunoda. And then the Aston Martins of Vettel and Stroll, not much better at 20th and 19th. Pierre Gasly is alongside Mick Schumacher. Valtteri Bottas ended behind both Williams and Nicholas Latifi and Alex Albon as their struggles really begin to show themselves. Ricciardo was 13th, followed by Hulkenberg. Kevin Magnussen is on a great year so far. He's just outside the top 10, which is occupied by Esteban Ocon. Zhou Guanyu starts 9th behind Jackson. He lost 8th in the final corner. Sergio Perez is alongside Lando Norris. The Ferraris of Charles Leclerc and Carlos Sainz are on the second row behind. All eyes are on Max Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton on the front row of the grid. Last year, those two came to blows at the Tamburello corner. They went through unscathed, and Lewis Hamilton, I think, went on to win. No, it was Max Verstappen that won the race in 2020, I believe. And I think it was Hamilton 2021, and I believe Lewis won it in 2020. Either he or Bottas. Can't really remember, it was so long ago. It's all come by in a flash since then, but we're so happy to be racing here. It's a classic circuit, and like we said, it has seen its fair share of triumphs and tragedy. Michael Schumacher winning in 2006 to the roar of the Tifosi. He was cheered on in 2005 as well, in which he lost to Fernando Alonso, who is there in the Alpine, ahead of Aiden Jackson there in 7th. And as we said, 1994 San Marino Grand Prix, as it was once called, the blackest weekend in Formula 1, and it was not only just the passings of Ratzenberger and Senna, but also a very scary crash for Rubens Barrichello on the Friday. Certainly the most blackest weekend in the sport's history, and as we said, the great mind of Professor Steve Watkins then strived to make this sport safer. Formula 1 will never be absolutely safe, that is a guarantee, as Antoine Hubert's passing a couple of years ago, or a few years ago, proved. But it is a world of safer, thanks to that great man who but we lost a few years ago. But his legacy has lived on ever since. And now here today, we have the most aggressive vehicles since 2017. But the introduction of the Halo is also an idea that F1 strive to help with safety. They certainly have done so. And now, we line up on the grid as Ferrari lead both championships and have the best overall package of the season. They start on the second row, but all eyes are at the front. Max Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton came to blows here last season. And there is 3, 4, 5 red lights under the drivers. The green flag is in the back. And it's lights out, and away we go, go, go! And Max Verstappen has gone away brilliantly, as has Carlos Sainz. I think he was alongside Hamilton there. George Russell hands back at the start, and it's all going to get a bit left and right everywhere. Everyone darting for some space. Hamilton stayed ahead of Sainz. Verstappen leads. No contact in Tamburello. We all got through. And Hamilton there is being a bit bobbed out, and this wall was free wide. I think Charles Leclerc was cutting across Norris there. That could have been a very scary accident. We really didn't see it, but fortunately we all got through. Carlos Sainz is hanging with Hamilton. Hamilton is kept in second place, and that's great for him. Hamilton having a great weekend so far. There's George Russell down the inside of Lance Stroll. He's already passed Tsunoda and Sebastian Vettel up to 19th place. And it is as you were for that. Lando Norris is at a great start up to 4th, ahead of Sainz and Perez. And once again, the McLaren has had a fantastic start off the lights, and Lando Norris has benefited going into 4th place. It's Verstappen who leads from almost a second ahead of Hamilton already, as Aiden Jackson there is round the outside of Fernando Alonso with the chicane where he passed Ocon yesterday, and he's passed another Alpine. And he must be getting sick of the sight of him, to be honest, because that's another one in 2 days that Aiden Jackson has passed. And now Ocon there battling with Alonso, certainly giving him no quarter in the opening stage of his race. Max Verstappen has absolutely walked it to almost a second lead. We haven't even got an opportunity to open DRS yet, because that'll be the end of the second racing lap as Carlos Sainz dives down the inside, which will turn to the outside. It was good friend Lando Norris and the bromance of McLaren a few years ago. Did he get through? I don't think he did. The leaderboard hasn't updated, with Sainz getting ahead of Norris. So Norris kept the position. Lance Stroll, well, not Lance Stroll, but George Russell rather, and Schumacher's in the pits. That's Mick Schumacher in the pits, most likely with front wing damage already, and that's another broken front wing for Haas. It's not just Schumacher that's suffering from it either. Kevin Magnussen, my apologies, had to, I think, pit last time out in the Australian Grand Prix due to front wing damage, so Haas just cannot get through the first lap without incurring any damage at the moment. Kevin Magnussen, meanwhile, is battling with Nico Hulkenberg, and there's Hulkenberg down the outside of Kevin Magnussen, and he's made a great move. Hulkenberg is 11th, and Audi seem to have got the car underneath them for this race. As we have a look at the replay of the start, Max Verstappen, nice and clean as you like, he took to the grass in the start there. I wonder why he did that. He was probably covering off any possible road around the outside from Hamilton, trying to force him to the outside. But I don't think Hamilton had the greatest of starts because Sainz was alongside him, and there's Charles Leclerc. He was almost getting through the middle there of his teammate, and then he passed him around the outside, and he got alongside Hamilton. So it was Leclerc that got alongside Hamilton in the first corner, I think. I think that's Leclerc's helmet. I'm not really sure now I think about it, because I think the Ferrari of 16 was no, it definitely is Leclerc, because he started behind Sainz. As we have a look at the start from Russell, we'll see how he passed Tsunoda and the two Aston Martins in the early stage of the race. Tsunoda got held up by Lance Stroll. Vettel's going around the outside, and George is just running out of room. There's a piece of front wing, that's no doubt from Mick Schumacher there. So that's the broken front wing that Schumacher suffered. There's Vettel going down the inside of the Alfa Romeo. Oh, it's contact between the Aston Martins. I think that'll be relatively harmless, but the Aston Martins coming to contact, and George Russell pretty much throwing it down the inside of Tosa, and it worked, and he got ahead of them there. And now we're about to see the start from Mick Schumacher and how he got the damage. Well, he had a great start getting ahead of Bottas there early on. The two Williams are kind of almost line of stern going into Tamburello, but I think it was Albon that got slightly ahead, and Schumacher just runs out of space again. Pretty much like his collision in Bahrain. He just had really nowhere to end up going and just hit Latifi. Unfortunately, Vaillancourt the most damage, and he had to go for a front wing. And here's a replay of the earlier move from Jackson on Alonso round the outside of the chicane. Before he even got there, he was ahead. And Aiden Jackson has made that his personal passing place this weekend. He passed Ocon there in yesterday's sprint. And there's Hulkenberg going down the outside of Kevin Magnussen. Got a bit squirrely in the oversteer out of the corner, which could allow Magnussen back through, but then brake very late in the other corner, that corner there, and made his way to 11th as the Audi. So had a good start, moving up one place each. As George Russell is having a look at Nicolas Latifi. He's already disposed of Valtteri Bottas, as Alfa Romeo just continue to sink at the moment. Although having said that, Zhou Guan Yu is in 10th place on for a point at the moment, and Alfa Romeo need to get some points on the board because they have been definitely the most disappointing outfit of 2022 so far. Even Haas has one more point at this stage than they did last year, with Kevin Magnussen scoring. Unfortunately, there is still no points for Mick Schumacher, and that will definitely be the case now because he is 29, I think that is seconds behind Yuki Tsunoda after a pit stop due to incurring some damage on that one. So we are at lap 3, DRS enabled, and here we go, and this is going to be a bit of a DRS train. This is going to be interesting to see how quickly Russell navigates it as Vettel comes into the pits, and I'm assuming this is for a change of front wing. He did make contact with Lance Stroll on the opening lap. Vettel has obviously come to the conclusion that it's too much damage for him to cope with, and he's going to replace his front wing. That was, who was that? That was Pierre Gasly going down the inside of Alex Albon, I assume it was, and George Russell has followed him through into 15th place, and George Russell was flying. So that Mercedes certainly has some pace, just not compared to the Red Bulls at the moment, because Max Verstappen has broken the DRS range of Lewis Hamilton by 1.5 seconds now. You have to be within 1 second of the car ahead to be activated DRS down the start finish straight. Just the one zone today. But Lewis Hamilton will not be getting any benefit of that. In fact, he'll be feeling the pressure from Charles Leclerc, who is third, followed by Lando Norris, Carlos Sainz, Sergio Perez, Aiden Jackson, Fernando Alonso, Esteban Ocon and Zhou Guanyu as your top 10, with Nico Hulkenberg just right behind in 10th place. There is definitely a possibility for double points for Audi this weekend, because Nico Hulkenberg, well, if he didn't have bad luck, he'd have no luck at all, to quote the late great Murray Walker, as Charles Leclerc has passed Lewis Hamilton. And I think it's very clear that Mercedes just don't have the pace of the front two at the moment, with Ferrari and Red Bull in teams, as far as the teams are concerned. But George Russell certainly has pace. He's up to P14 past Pierre Gasly. And we had Hulkenberg and Zhou Guanyu side by side, but I think Hulkenberg held the position. And there was a pass there for position from, I'm not sure who it was, I think it was Pierre Gasly and Valtteri Bottas. For P15 to P16, Hulkenberg has broken a little bit clearer of Zhou Guanyu into 10th place. It's been a good weekend for Hulkenberg, a good recovery up into 10th place. Audi on for double points then with Aiden Jackson 7th, but he's already getting dropped by Sergio Perez. 2.1 seconds behind, but what a difference a year makes for Aiden Jackson, because he was lapped here last year in the Haas car. Lando Norris and McLaren, another great start by the McLaren in particular. They've certainly got good grip off the start line, as Hamilton is sort of hanging with Charles Leclerc on this lap, and this will be interesting because he will not have DRS from Verstappen as he is too far behind, but Hamilton will have DRS from him. So how is the Mercedes in DRS trim against the Ferraris and Red Bulls? We're about to find out. Hamilton takes to the outside. He has a look there, but nothing doing, unfortunately, for him. But Hamilton and Mercedes in particular having a much better weekend. As Lando Norris and Carlos Sainz are side by side, and Carlos Sainz has come out ahead as Ferrari once again proving its superiority overall over the rest of the field right now. We've got more racing. We've got Daniel Ricciardo there. Battling with Zhou Guanyu. Unfortunately, he's dropped to 12th now, and that's unfortunate because Zhou Guanyu was on for a point earlier, but now he's dropping behind. And will Hulkenberg catch this gaggle of cars in front of him? Aiden Jackson has dropped the Alpines ahead, so we certainly know that Audi are definitely somewhere in the midfield, probably the top of the midfield so far. I mean, Jackson's unbelievable couple of races from back-to-back podiums certainly would back up that statement. And here's George Russell. He's all over Zhou Guanyu already. And that Mercedes certainly has some good pace, and it's certainly interesting to see the Ferrari C-spec unit not really giving the benefits to Alfa Romeo and Haas as you'd expect. It's helping the Ferraris, no doubt about that. But with Alfa Romeo scoring no points and Haas only getting 1, Ferrari's C-spec unit is not all conquering as we thought. It's certainly more of a fundamental car not issue, but performance-wise, they're certainly not up to scratch at Alfa Romeo and Haas at the moment. Aiden Jackson has caught on to the scrap for 4th place between Sainz, Norris and Sergio Perez. So much so that Jackson is actually now in DRS range of Perez. So that battle ahead has now aided him in getting further forward. I don't think he's going to score a podium today, because the front three are already ahead of Sainz by 4 seconds. 6 seconds probably overall, because Max is too clear of Leclerc, who's got Hamilton behind him, and there's a gap of 4 between Hamilton and Sainz. So Max Verstappen has a 6-second lead over that, and Jackson is about, I would say, about 4 seconds behind Sainz, because that's the... Actually, no, he's right there. He's right for 4th. It's Hamilton with focusing on there. But Audi certainly having a better weekend. Nico Hulkenberg certainly he was almost on for a point in the sprint, but he moved on to the intermediates a lap too late because Jackson made the call first. It wasn't really a team decision or a strategic decision to get Hulkenberg out of Jackson's way, because I think they were both very even in the sprint race, with Jackson probably just being slightly faster. He's got DRS from Perez, but he's already fallen a second behind, because I think that is one thing as we see Sergio Perez and Lando Norris side by side through Tamburello. And who came out in front there? It was Norris. And Norris once again really proving his worth against the deficiencies of the McLaren somewhat, as George Russell has passed Zhou Guanyu, and it is now all over Kevin Magnussen. George Russell is having a storming first stint of this race. What a great resurgent weekend this has been for Mercedes. And they needed this, because they have certainly been shocked by their loss of pace since the start of the season, to the point where even this man, Aiden Jackson, is up against them and finished ahead of both of them in both previous races. He's only going to beat one today, although George Russell, to be fair, is flying, and it'll only be a question of where he'll end up by the end of it all. Lewis Hamilton is sticking with Charles Leclerc. He's still in DRS range. If he can stay there, it might help him later, as Max Albon is being passed by Sebastian Vettel and the Aston Martin, as they continue to scrap at the back. And I think it's fair to say that Vettel and Schumacher have caught up pretty well to each other, to be fair. Schumacher is now 21 seconds behind Yuki Tsunoda, so he's got some pace, Mick Schumacher, but he's most likely on the soft tyres. Speaking on Haas, George Russell down the inside of Kevin Magnussen, and it is easy as you like, really. Kevin's going to try and stick it around the outside, but I don't think there's going to be much of a contest there, as Gasly and Zhou Guanyu battle with a P14. What a shame for Zhou Guanyu down in 14th now. Definitely some sort of problem in the Alfa Romeo garages at the moment. Jackson 7th, still on the back of Sergio Perez. You can still see him, but he can't get past him today. And I was going to say earlier that I think one thing we've noticed from Audi this weekend is that they have a very draggy car in a straight line. You definitely need DRS at Audi, because in a straight line it seems like they haven't really got the pace right now. So downforce is something that Audi put a lot of focus into, but compared to the top runners, certainly feeling the effects of just, well, overall drag, really. And on lap 9, we have Max Verstappen leading from Charles Leclerc, and he seems to have pegged him now, Max Verstappen, as Sergio Perez goes around the outside of Lando Norris once again, and this is about for P5. And Perez and Norris hangs it out, and he's passed it back. And a good scrap developing here, but it's allowing Aiden Jackson to close in. You don't want Aiden Jackson all over you, because you'll be passed by him, and he'll make sure of it. And Zhou Guanyu is now full back behind Gasly again, even third behind Gasly. He's falling into the clutches of his teammate. And honourable mention to Nicholas Latifi, doing very well in 17th place. He started behind Albon early on. I think Albon might have had some damage, because he seems to have fallen a lot further behind as well. I thought that Albon might have come in for a front wing change. As that's Jackson going around the outside of Perez, is it? And Perez must be getting really sick of Jackson at the moment, because he's seeing a lot of him in the first 4 races. Now he's got to deal with him some more. Red Bull must be wondering where Audi have got this pace from, because they're certainly competitive. And Jackson has got 2 back-to-back podiums, but he's looked a little more out of sorts this weekend. He was eliminated in Q2, and like we said, the Audi seems to have a problem with straight line speed in a drag sense, because with DRS the Audi can be relatively okay. As Jackson proved in Bahrain, he was passing Alex Albon even with DRS ahead. Wasn't Williams, mind you, but even still, that's impressive. Hamilton has now fallen out of DRS range from Leclerc now. And the Alpines, once again, have the rather amazing sight to them that Audi is in front of them. Certainly the kings of the midfield so far, Audi. 4th place in the Constructors' Championship behind the Big 3, as it were. Aiden Jackson has certainly made his stock rise even further, finishing ahead of both Mercedes in the previous 2 races. And as we said right here, Audi have not looked at their best. Like we said, last year Aiden Jackson here was lapped, but it's still a world of difference better. Hanging on to Perez. I want to watch Jackson down this start-finish straight. Oh, he's gone wide there. Jackson's gone wide. He's going to kick up some dust, and he'll have DRS to close back in. But unfortunately, And that's Mick Schumacher already being lapped by the leaders, I think. I think we saw a glimpse of it there. Mick Schumacher already being lapped. I think he's pitted again because he's last. So I think Schumacher has as they go off the soft tyres. And it's certainly not been the start of the season we expected from Haas and Mick Schumacher in particular. 0 points. Kevin Magnussen's 1. But it's for Haas, 1 point at this stage of the season is well better than they were last year, of course. I had to wait till the French Grand Prix to get their first point with Jackson. After a race-long battle with Lance Stroll, in which Jackson prevailed. And here he is now, a year later, in a hugely competitive Audi car, making the best of his situation. You have to say, Jackson has been thriving this season. Now he's right on the back of Perez again. Will he get the final corner right this time? He does. It's going to look like he got a pretty good exit, but look at the deficiency that Audi has over the cars ahead. Lando Norris has been passed by Sergio Perez. Probably night and day expected, to be honest. And, well, this is unfortunate. George Russell is flying so much, but he's now caught Nico Hulkenberg. And looks like Hulkenberg's whole in 10th place is going to be very short-lived because George Russell's on fire at the moment. Lap 13, he's already at the P11. Max Verstappen just relatively cruising this first stint. So he has lost some time to Charles Leclerc. It's only 1.3. So it looks like Charles is starting to try and reel him in. Certainly not over this race. And there is another. That's Sebastian Vettel now. So now Mick Schumacher's in 20th. Something strange really going on at the back. I guess it's like different strategies with soft tyres and things. And here's George Russell, right on the tail of Nico Hulkenberg. He just has to stay there, and he'll get 10th place. I think Jackson could at least get maybe 4th here, or maybe 3rd, because Sainz is getting away from Perez now. And there is George Russell, passing Nico Hulkenberg. Unfortunately, it's night and day with DRS. That's Russell back into the points. We haven't even made the pit stop yet. What a great drive from George Russell. And Vettel lets this battle go on by. And what a difference a year makes for Aiden Jackson. He was the one lapped last year. Now he's lapping cars. Well, to be fair, Schumacher and Vettel had damage in the early laps to the start of this race. It's going to be interesting to see how the field actually comes out at the end of the pit stop phase, because Charles is certainly hanging with Max Verstappen. It was a second between them in Australia, but we later learned that Charles was nursing his engine a bit. And that's why Max passed him, which makes sense. And both of them have come in, as is Hamilton. So the top 3 have come in immediately then. Who's going to get out in front here? It's going to be Max. But Charles looks like he might have got a bit closer there. Now, where are these 3 going to come out? It's going to be traffic galore for them. Aiden Jackson's also coming in. So the medium tyres have lasted 15 laps. It's a good distance. So this stop onto the hard tyres should get everyone at least to the end of the race. Dropped to 10th. Here comes Bottas and Joe and Magnussen. It's just both Alfa Romeos for Jackson. Nice patch of clean air. Can he use this to possibly overcut Perez and Norris? He was right with them before the stops. And now Carlos Sainz leads from Sergio Perez by 2 seconds. Charles Leclerc Looks to have got within a second of Max Verstappen, by the way. I told you this race wasn't over. Charles Leclerc being roared on by the Tifosi. You could hear the cheers as they realise they're coming up to other cars. And that's the Audi of Hulkenberg, which will most likely get right out of the way, as he will most likely have to pit. But now, Charles Leclerc is in prime position to attack Verstappen, as Norris and Ocon coming to the pits, followed by the Audi of Hulkenberg. And now order is restored, but for how much longer? Because Charles has DRS there. Now we know the Red Bull is mighty in a straight line, but how mighty is it? It's Hulkenberg in the pits for the hard tyres. So both Audis are going to the end of the race. And that's not a bad looking position for Hulkenberg. But where's Jackson going to feed out? He's going to be behind Norris. So Jackson made no inroads on those ahead, really. In fact, I probably think he lost out a bit. But he got ahead of his teammate, Hulkenberg, who's now dropped to 14th. So I don't know if there was a problem in the stop or Hulkenberg was getting held up, but now he's P14. That's so unfortunate for Hulkenberg. Like we said earlier, to quote the great Murray Walker, if he didn't have bad luck, he'd have no luck at all. Nico Hulkenberg, he's been riddled with bad luck over the last few races. He was caught in a DRS train in Saudi Arabia at the back. Because Latifi is now alone for Williams. Bear in mind he still has to pit, but he is on the hard tyres. So he'll go to the mediums for the end. So now we've got Zhou Guan Yu and Bottas. Probably out of position for Alfa Romeo. Are they going to hold Perez up here? This could bring Jackson right back into play against these two. We'll talk about Perez and Norris. And Perez goes round the outside, which will turn to the inside. He passes him with ease. What is wrong with Alfa Romeo? They certainly aren't reeling the benefits of the Ferrari C-spec unit. The only ones that are the Ferraris themselves, ironically. They've all got the same engine. Ferrari works, Alfa Romeo and Haas have all got the same C-spec unit. As Lando Norris makes short work of Zhou Guan Yu as well. And around the outside of Toza, it's brought Jackson right back into play against them. And now he'll have to dispatch of the Alfa Romeos as well. Honourable mention to Lewis Hamilton. He's having a great race. He may be third, but this has certainly been his best performance so far. Where are Mercedes' dominant pace gone? They've not just dropped off in terms of place, they have fell off the cliff. And Mercedes, at this point last year, were looking like a dominant force. And it looks like Max Verstappen and Charles Leclerc are actually battling at the front. I saw the positions change there momentarily. It's only momentarily though. And here's a replay from Jackson as well. Looks like he went round the outside of Zhou Guan Yu in the penultimate corner. Oh, he locked up. And then he got him on the exit there. Great move from Jackson again. Certainly doesn't want to be held up by the Alfa Romeo there in his pursuit of Lando Norris. I think 7th is probably the best Jackson can hope for today. Like we said, he was lapped last year, so he'll take it. Hulkenberg going down the outside of Ocon. The Audi is, both Audis are racing hard this weekend. Oh, there's a Williams in the way. Who's that? Oh my word, Aiden Jackson fastest lap, 121.4. And wow, Aiden Jackson finding some pace there, and he's got the fastest lap again. Let's hope he's not. Overhauled by Verstappen on the final lap. I probably just jinxed it now. But let's hope not. Oh, Nico Hulkenberg. I think he was held up by a little more by the Williams. than he would have liked. George Russell's now in the points. Let's see how far high he can get. There's still plenty of race to run. But yeah, there he is again. Aiden Jackson with the fastest lap. The Audi has some pace. The Audi is a very good race car this year. It has certainly been the revelation of this season. So much so that Audi is looking to make some moves sponsorship-wise for next season. They've got the rumours of maybe some sort of partnership with the legendary Connor Sport outfit. Once again from the Grid Series. So maybe their personnel partnership with Raven West could turn into a merge with Connor Sport, and Audi could be a really good looking car next year. Aiden Jackson has certainly risen Audi's publicity, and they're getting noticed now. Their performance have turned heads. And of course, Connor Sport, not really an established racing outfit yet. They're still trying to finalise their terms in the Grid Series. But there's certainly a new company on the rise at the moment, and they've certainly turned some heads, and they're looking in Audi's direction. I have to watch this space. Something could be announced in the summer break, perhaps. They are only rumours for now. But for now, let's turn our attention to the front, because Charles Leclerc is right on the tail of Max Verstappen now. And we're about to see just how potent that straight line speed is for Red Bull. And meanwhile, Aiden Jackson is right on the tail of Lando Norris. And he's moved up to P7 now. So what happened there? I'm not really sure what happened. I think he was ahead of Alonso by a long way. He was, because he's 8 seconds behind Russell. So Jackson's gained a place somehow, I think. Unless he was right there. But in any case, here we go. Jackson with DRS down the inside of Tamburello. And he's going to pass him before he even gets there. He gives Lando Norris space. They go in side by side almost. And Jackson comes out in front. Well, what must McLaren be thinking? And, well, were they looking at Jackson perhaps? We knew Alpine were. Almost Savnar had made no secret of Jackson's wanting to sign Jackson at Aston Martin, and when they failed to do so, Savnar jumped ship. The problem he had was that Ocon and Alonso were contracted already at Alpine, at least until the end of next year, I believe. Could be the same with Daniel Ricciardo at McLaren as well, but Jackson has certainly got eyes on him. So where will he be? I think there's no doubt he'll be at Audi next year. I don't think Jackson's going to want to move from there, quite frankly. McLaren are certainly an up-and-up outfit. But I think that team is really built around Lando Norris. But as Jackson has proved many times this year, he doesn't really need a car built around him. He'll make the car work for himself. Just like that man would. Max Verstappen. And Lando Norris is getting so much space going into Tamburello, and that DRS was powerful. He's locked up, and Norris has gone off and trudging across the curbs because he doesn't want to incur underfloor damage. Will that help Russell? No. And well, that'll close the gap a little bit. Oh, Norris, he came from so far out here. And you can hear the revs and see the porpoising. It's the high revs that are contributing to the porpoising of the cars. And Norris really just came in too hot. But he had such overspeed from DRS from Jackson, and maybe some slipstream as well. Jackson certainly saw it coming, gave him some space. And he was very lucky that he was in the position he was, because that could have been an almighty collision, to be fair. Jackson probably lucky to escape from that, quite frankly, because I think he would have had no idea it was happening. So it's George Russell now 8th. George Russell is flying. And now he's caught Norris because Norris went off. So George Russell could at the very least, get 7th here, if not 6th, if he continues his rise through the field. He could even catch Jackson and pass him. And there's Yuki Tsunoda, and he's got off. And as he retired from this race, looks like he has. The AlphaTauri has stopped. That's a retirement for the Red Bull powertrain, only the 2nd of the season, mind you. Following on from Max Verstappen in Bahrain, and it's just a loss of power. Yep, just a loss of power. Tsunoda pulls off to the side. No need for the full safety car. That one, we've rejoined, and Max and Charles were fighting, and Charles was going around the outside of Leclerc already. We joined at an opportune time there. Charles took the lead. Charles Leclerc leads. You can hear the cheers from anywhere in the world at the moment. The crowd has got into a frenzy because Charles Leclerc leads the Emillia Romangna Grand Prix. The crowd can sense it coming, and he has sent this place into raptures at the moment. Oh my word, what a move from Charles Leclerc. DRS assisted. And all that talk about Red Bull's straight line speed certainly didn't aid them in Charles Leclerc having DRS behind him. And I'll tell you something, Lewis Hamilton isn't too far behind either. He's only a second plus behind them. So Hamilton has driven the wheels off his car today, as has this man, George Russell. They have driven the wheels off that Mercedes this weekend. They've done exceptionally well. And they've got big upgrades coming for Spain, I think. I think Spain's going to be the first time we see Mercedes apply some upgrades to the car. Audi are expecting the same as well. So by Spain, we could see Mercedes and Audi make real jumps in performance. And Aiden Jackson's already 6th. So we know that Audi can compete with Red Bull with DRS assistance. And George Russell's now going down the inside of Lando Norris with DRS. As Russell continues his rise for the field, he's got him. Well, a drive of the ages from George Russell today. Will he catch Jackson by the end of the race? Hulkenberg passes Alonso. And now he's up to P10. So, oh no! He locked up there, Hulkenberg. Oh, what a shame. Very similar to Lando Norris. Lucky he didn't go off the track as much as Norris did, but... Hulkenberg was just about to say 10th then. Oh, this man's bad luck is almost pretty much heartbreaking. Because Hulkenberg since Bahrain has been put in the shadow of Jackson a little bit. Well, probably in a huge sense, to be fair. As we said, Jackson's coming off back-to-back podiums. Now, Max Verstappen cannot pass Leclerc with DRS, and this battle is bringing Lewis Hamilton right into play here, because now he is in DRS range of Verstappen. This race is not over yet for the win, not by a long way. Charles is not running away, despite the performance advantage the Ferraris has over the rest of the field at the moment. We stated about 4 tenths maybe, and that's pretty much what the gap is. Lewis Hamilton, what a champion's drive he's had this weekend. 2nd in the sprint race, front row start for the first time since Abu Dhabi 2021. Now, could he challenge these two for the win? Hamilton has not gone a season winless since he entered Formula 1. He has won in every single season since his debut back in 2007. The car does not look on pace to win at the moment though. There's no knock on Lewis, but he's never had a car outside the top 3. He's always had a car capable of winning races. But the Mercedes is a little way behind at the moment, but if these two make contact, Hamilton will gladly inherit that one. And Mercedes, like we said, good pace this weekend, and George Russell's proved it. But Lewis Hamilton is certainly having a champion's drive. If there is ever a season where Lewis deserves more than the car will give him, it's based off this weekend. Certainly so. Didn't really have enough to challenge Red Bull at the start. Now what can Hulkenberg do? Can he make his way back through? There's Ricciardo. So Hulkenberg is actually back in the running for 10th place despite losing it earlier. Good performances from Mercedes and Audi this weekend. Definitely. Ferrari and Red Bull are as you'd expect. But these three are practically nose to tail now. This is going to be a storming end of this race. And Lewis Hamilton could, at the very least, get second here. But he's going to have a problem because Max Verstappen will have DRS from the club, but Verstappen isn't quick enough. I think that's testament to the overall pace that Ferrari have. Even without DRS, Charles is able to stay ahead. That's how good the Ferrari has been this season so far. And that'll be 3 wins out of the first 4 then for Charles Leclerc if he can pass the line first today. One in Bahrain, absolutely dominated to a degree, even if the win margin was 5 seconds. He and Max had a race-long battle in Saudi. And then, of course, in Australia, Leclerc ran into an engine cut and lost the lead and never was able to get it back. Ferrari still trying to sort out their engine grounds. That Ferrari C-spec power unit certainly is fast, but does it have the reliability then? Is reliability an issue for Ferrari? Maybe that's what's hindering the Haas and Alfa Romeo cars. Speaking of which, Magnussen's 14th, Bottas and Zhu are 15th and 16th, and Schumacher's 18th. So Big Schumacher, to be fair, has made a lot up in this race. He's unfortunately got lapped, but even still, that's not bad considering he was last coming out of the pit lane at the end of lap 1 due to front wing damage. To come up to 18th in a Haas is kind of impressive actually. No points for Haas this weekend for the moment. Hulkenberg is right on the verge of it. Right on the tail of Alonso and Ricciardo. What a good resurgence of form this will be for Nico Hulkenberg. As his morale over the last 2 races probably mostly hit the floor, but this weekend has certainly been a nice strong one for Nico. And I think it won't be long before he's back amongst the points, let's hope not. But Audi certainly don't have the best handling car, as we already know. The Audi still has a lot of diva characteristics, and one of those is drag in a straight line, as the onboard there from Hulkenberg proved, and even Jackson's been struggling with it. Speaking of which, he's just lapped a Williams. I think it might be Latifi. In fact, it is Latifi. It is Latifi. A decent race for himself as well. Schumacher's actually 90th, it's Latifi that's 18th, my apologies. And Jackson's run wide. And I don't think he'll get anything for that because he was lapping Sebastian Vettel anyway. He wasn't passing him off the track. It's not like he'll gain anything out there, so he won't get anything for that. Meanwhile, back at the front, Charles Leclerc has pegged Max Verstappen by the looks of it. He is still in the lead, and Max is not able to do anything about it. And Vettel has passed Latifi, and look at this! Aiden Jackson getting unlapped by both Latifi and Vettel. Shades of Spa 2000. And I think Jackson was so surprised, but he went off. Well, that certainly proves the point of Audi's drag. Because Latifi and Vettel are in cars that, no disrespect to them, should not have the legs of the Audi at all. They went round either side of it. I think Jackson was so surprised he went off. Wow. Well, Audi certainly have a bit to do. They've certainly got a good base, but it's certainly not up to par with these three at the moment. But Aiden Jackson's still going to get points on the board for P6. Now, Verstappen, he looks a lot closer there to Charles Leclerc this time around. He's going to try around the outside, and Leclerc is going to block him off of Verstappen. And Leclerc's gone wide, and oh, he's just about kept ahead there. Max thinking about the championship or just staying in it, no doubt. But Leclerc not taking Tamburello cleanly there. Now Hamilton's right in Verstappen's wheel tracks. Sainz is 12 seconds behind this 3-car battle for the win here in the Emillia Romangna Grand Prix. Charles Leclerc is about to send the Tifosi back into raptures if he can cross the line first on the next lap. Look how close Hamilton is to Verstappen. This has been as close as Mercedes have been to them all season so far. What a drive from Lewis Hamilton. More than proving his 7 world title credentials. Should it have been an 8th will always be a question. But, as we said, the things people want wouldn't work in a scenario. You can't avoid 1 lap of race. It sounds ludicrous. But in any case, here's Hulkenberg still hanging on to the Alpine of Alonso and the McLaren of Ricciardo. It's been a great race for him, but unfortunately, once again, he's going to score no points. What a shame. He's certainly going to give it a good go though, Hulkenberg. You have to feel that once Audi sort out their diva characteristics and get rid of some drag, they're going to be a very good car. And Hulkenberg is pulling to the side. Oh no! Oh, Hulkenberg's miserable. He's out of the race on the penultimate lap. And that is just cruel. That is just cruel on Nico Hulkenberg. If he didn't have bad luck, he'd have no luck at all, to quote Murray Walker again. Oh my goodness. Meanwhile then, back at the front, Charles Leclerc has pegged Verstappen by the looks of it. And he is going to cross the line to win the Emillia Romangna Grand Prix, when he was pushed all the way home by Max Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton. And Verstappen has done it to Jackson again. That's the fastest that he has. Verstappen has took the fastest lap from Jackson on the last lap yet again. And look, George Russell is going to be right there, right at the end. Jackson is just going to hold it. Oh man, what a race from George Russell. What an effort by Mercedes. Are they back? Maybe. We'll have to wait and see, but it's certainly a good sighter for the rest of the season. But Charles Leclerc has won again, 3 out of 4 now. That Ferrari, especially in Leclerc's hands, looks mighty. Maybe Red Bull don't have the advantage we thought. Not in a straight line anyway. Ferrari are the best overall package in Formula 1, and I think this win, more than the other two, has certainly proved it. He passed Verstappen on merit with DRS at the DRS zone. Verstappen took the fastest lap from Jackson at the end again, and poor Nico Hulkenberg, on the verge of points, ends up not finishing the race at all. What a drive from George Russell. From 22nd, he finishes 7th in an absolutely wonderfully storming drive. Driver of the day, George Russell. An honorable mention to Hulkenberg and Hamilton as well. Hamilton, just an absolutely great race from him. He could have finished, he could have won this race, but Still, I would say Mercedes are some way behind Red Bull and Ferrari, but they've certainly given them a run for their money today. So, championship standings. Charles Leclerc now increases his lead again, back to over a race win between him and Verstappen. Hamilton solidifies third ahead of Carlos Sainz. Jackson will close a little bit on Perez after finishing ahead of him. Poor Nico Hulkenberg is sitting on only 4 points. He probably should have more, sadly. Still no points for Mick Schumacher or Alfa Romeo for that matter. And Ferrari have a 31-point lead over Red Bull in the constructors. It was Ferrari's day. They certainly have the best package at the moment. Red Bull need to, well, they certainly have got a chance, but Ferrari is still the best package in 2022. Charles earned this one, but Lewis Hamilton there on the podium, very well earned indeed. What a race. Any one of these three could have won it, but it was Charles Leclerc, and I think it was that pit work from Ferrari that did win him it today. 3 out of 4. Next time when Formula 1 returns, we go to new pastures in Miami. Thank you for watching.